Hey there, everybody. How are you guys doing this evening? Hopefully you guys can hear me loud and clear. It should be coming through. We are got a couple things to cover this evening. Nothing spectacular, I'd say, but I do have a couple topics that I want to talk about. And then once I get through that, then we will get into the question and answer session when you guys ask me questions from the chat and all that good stuff. So should be seeing you here soon, or should be getting to that point soon, I should say. All right, cool. So you guys can hear me okay. So, did not release a video on Friday. I apologize about that. It was a hectic week last week. On a personal note, it was kind of cool. Found out about a month ago. Yeah, about a month ago, I got confirmation of a rumor that I heard in my family that my biological mother had another child 20 years ago. It was kind of a rumor that's been going around for like the last 2 years. Well, I got confirmation a month ago. And I got the DNA results Friday, and I was talking with my sister Friday night. So pretty cool trip. So yeah, I was a little busy and didn't have a chance to upload, or actually that was Thursday, so I didn't have a chance to upload anything. But I'm back at it now, and yeah, everything's good. So uploaded the unofficial van tour video. It is not completed yet, but I am in it. I was in it officially today. I didn't work very much, just went and ran one call, and then I was in the office doing some work. But so far, so good on the van. Definitely lots of things to tweak and adjust and, make to my liking. It's going to take about a month or two, I think, before I get everything the way that I want it. And then I'm sure I'll change it in another year or something like that, because it's kind of a never-ending thing when you get in those things. You start hearing a noise, and then you come up with a new idea and, that kind of stuff. So I apologize, guys. There you go. That's my bad. You should totally be able to see me now. Sorry about that, guys. But so yeah, van tours up. I said you guys already heard that part. These streams can never go smooth because I always forget to do something. So whether it be audio messed up or video messed up or something. So there we go. I went talking for 2 minutes and realized I never clipped over the transition to show my face. So my apologies. So yeah, van tour. Just kind of did a quick one. Lots of things left to do inside the van, like I said. Kind of talked about it a little bit, and, moving bottles around and coming up with a solution for my ladders. Definitely want to integrate. I actually just picked up a GoPro. I've had them before, but I was never a fan of it. But I kind of have some ideas about using it for different clips. I don't really plan on filming on the GoPro per se all the time. I think I've mentioned it before, but I might as well cover it. So when I film my videos, I film with my phone. I have a Galaxy S9 Plus, nothing special about it, just a normal Galaxy phone. Just have the settings, it has a great camera, a great microphone all around. I mean, you can always find something you can always get a better camera that has better resolution, or vice versa, microphone, that kind of stuff. But I do find that the phone is very convenient because it's not obvious too. I don't have to make a big deal of it. And just throw it in my pocket, and when I'm ready to film, I film. So that's my primary source of filming my videos. There's times where I think it'd be great to have a GoPro, so I went ahead and picked one up. But one of the things, I'm not super smart when it comes to these videos and editing and different things. So when it comes to those, I'm still trying to figure out how to do all that stuff. So we'll be integrating that in a little bit. I kind of have some ideas about using the GoPro in the van, mounting it on the windshield and having some clips or something like that. Maybe start doing the outros in there or something. So we'll see. It's a work in progress, and we're just kind of, again, I've mentioned it before. These videos, they were never meant to be for public, so I really don't even know what I'm doing. I just started making them for my guys that work with me, and then here we are a year later. It's kind of crazy too. I got to say thanks so much, because the subscribers, like it's nuts. It just keeps going. We're at 18,400 subscribers. Like I can't believe that. I can't believe that many people actually want to watch some dude, talk about fixing things. But hey, it is what it is, and that's what they do. So, I appreciate you guys all for doing that. So thanks so much. So a couple of the topics I want to cover. I just was thinking about something today, and it's that time of year where you hear a lot of service companies talking about reviews. It's that, usually the first of the year, at least that's kind of how we've done it in the past or whatever. So, you sit down and you talk to your guys, and we usually make it a two-way conversation, so, hey, this is the things that you did great this year. This is the things that we could have, or the previous year, this is the things that we could use some improvement on. And then we'll usually ask for feedback on the opposite side too. Like, what do you think we could do to change things? And sometimes we can do those, sometimes we can't. There's things that we as a company can't change, and there is things that we can work on. Nobody's perfect. By any means are we a perfect service company. Okay, we are not, just like anybody else. We make mistakes. There's times that we're winging it. There's times that we're just figuring things out. Okay, so, but I think it's really important that no matter what happens, that we all constantly try to better ourselves. Okay, whether it be with education, perfect thing is right now, this time of year is the time that we have all the training classes, and talked about it a bunch of times, but better yourselves by taking a training class, by, when you go home, doing some research, figuring some information out, looking into the equipment that you're working on. Don't just wait for your service manager to explain to you how it works. Don't just wait until the moment that you have to work on it to figure out the sequence of operation for that particular piece of equipment, especially if it's something that you're going to be doing regular service on. Do it, take the time when you go home to do some research. I've said it before, this is definitely a great thing for, apprentices, but it also applies to regular service techs. When you're on the roof working and you're coming across an interesting piece of equipment, take a picture with your phone, the model and serial number, and when you get home, do some research, figure it out, download the PDFs. A lot of the new equipment is kind of cool because it comes with those barcode looking things that you can scan. I'm sure there's a technical term for them, but you can scan them with your phone, and then it brings you to a website with PDFs and all that good stuff. So, it's getting easier and easier, but I definitely think that, we can constantly continue to try to better ourselves when it comes to that stuff. Okay. As the busy season comes, you want to be ready for, summertime and whatnot. I mean, we still got a couple months before it gets crazy, but getting yourself pumped and ready for that now, making sure you have the tools that you're going to need, the hand tools at least, or I don't know how your company policy is with tools, but at my company, we provide pretty much everything but the hand tools. So, I just always encourage the guys to make sure that they're getting ready, so that way it doesn't hit them all at once, that they realize they need all this different stuff. And it's like, slowly start building it up and build yourself up an extra stockpile of stuff. And, simple things like me personally, I keep a stockpile of the things that you're going to lose. The pocket thermometers, I'll usually buy, a couple at a time and throw them in my van in a drawer. So that way, when I do lose one, because it is inevitable, you are going to lose that stuff. The pocket screwdrivers, hopefully you're not losing your big tools, but, I always keep a spare voltmeter on my van, that kind of stuff. I mean, that's common sense stuff, but I think it's also important to remind people to think about that stuff. You should always have a backup meter. You should always have, backup set of gauges, definitely, especially if you're running digital gauges. I love my Fieldpiece stuff, but I always carry a set of analogs in my van just in case. You never know what happens. I'm fortunate enough to be able to have 2 sets of Fieldpiece gauges. That's just me. I'm not saying everybody has to have 2 of those, but I'm just saying if you don't, make sure you have an analog set, a backup set. Because what happens, even if you don't break them, what happens if you leave them on a job, So, being ready for that kind of stuff. And remember, what I always talk about is big picture diagnosis. Okay, big picture diagnosis. Let's solve the problem, not the symptom. Okay, that sounds simple, and it is. But remember, we're not there to just change the compressor. We're there to find out why the compressor failed. Okay, and straight on down the line when it comes to almost any component. We want to solve the big picture, or look at the big picture. Okay, so you want to make sure you're fixing the whole thing and not just the symptom. Okay, and the symptom is also a gateway to the main problem, and it can. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember my talking points here. So, it's that kind of stuff that's going to make the customer appreciate you more as a service tech. Okay. Every company has that one service tech that a customer has requested that tech not come to their location anymore. Okay. And that's a crappy thing for a company owner, but that's also a crappy thing for that company. Let's make sure that you're not that tech. Okay. Customers, sometimes they're a pain in the butt. Sometimes they can be arrogant. Sometimes they can be rude. Okay. It happens. You guys know that. I know that. But you know, sometimes you just got to suck it up, close your mouth, fix what you need to fix, kill them with kindness, and move on. You know, that's the best method to do, is just kill them with kindness. That's usually what I do. I get so much joy out of that when a customer is rude and just plain mean, you know, and I can sit there and know that they're doing that, but then just, I'm not playing their game. I'm not feeding off of their anger. I just sit there and, okay, cool. You know, nothing but polite, you know, and move on to the next one. Okay. So just keep that in mind, because as the or as the summertime comes, that's going to happen more and more when people get irritated and frustrated and we get busy and we can't keep up with our calls. And, you know, I imagine some of you guys are dealing with that with the cold snaps you're having, you know, on the East Coast too right now, you know, on the same side. It's not hot. It's just super, super cold. And, you know, you can't keep up with the service calls. So just remember, it's just a service call. You know, there's no reason to get angry with the customer, you know, even if they're being a punk or whatever. Just, you know, shrug it and move on. So done preaching on that one. So, you know, one of the things I want to bring up, and I hate to even say this, but I have to reiterate that I don't know everything. Okay. I am just a service technician. Some of the questions that I get and different things, I mean, I try to answer what I can, but I don't know. I kind of get the vibe that people think I'm smarter than I am, and I'm not. Okay. I'm just a service tech, just like everybody else. I've made mistakes. I try to learn from the mistakes. The only difference between me and you is probably that I just have a platform to talk on. Like I mentioned in my last video, some of you guys just haven't picked up a camera yet. That's all. Okay. I'm sure there's plenty other guys that are even in this chat right now or watching this video that can fix things just the same, if not better than me. Okay. You know, there's lots of other guys out there. Okay. So just keep that in mind. I'm human just like everybody else. I struggle with things just like everybody else. There's times that I get callbacks. There's times that, you know, I've done all those things. I've made a lot of mistakes over my career. I try to learn from them. And that's the best thing that I feel we can do as service technicians, is try to learn from our mistakes. And that's going to make you better. And if you remember the symptoms that led up to that mistake, then that's going to help you on the next service call. Okay. And you'll remember that, and, you know, heed the tips that I give you, because those are the mistakes that I've made. So I'm not trying to eliminate any mistakes that you ever make. I'm not trying to make it so that you guys never even fall down. I'm just trying to share the interesting things that I come across that I think would be useful, and that may have led to some severe mistakes that caused some big problems, you know, cost us money, that kind of stuff. Okay. So just remember, you know, just take it easy, and let's just, you know, look at everything and try to solve, you know, everything. And let's just not, you know, jump in there and, you know, try to get out of there as fast as possible. Okay. You guys kind of get what I'm saying. So, quick question I had inside the, just before I went live on here, someone sent me a message asking me if I prefer an oxyacetylene torch versus a B tank or a turbo torch. Honestly, I can't answer that truthfully. I've only ever used an oxyacetylene torch, so I have nothing bad to say about a B tank or a turbo torch. Nothing bad to say other than they're loud. I have heard some facts about them. In refrigeration, I would say that I probably would prefer a oxyacetylene torch, but then again, I've never used the B tanks. You know, I think that, you know, climbing up onto an attic or onto a walk-in and, you know, shimmying down the walk-in roof in a tight confined space, I could see where, you know, a little turbo torch would be very beneficial. So I think they each have their place. Okay. But when I'm working on some sensitive components, especially in the smaller refrigeration that I work in, changing expansion valves, you know, little things, I could see where the flame on a turbo torch looks to be a little bit too big for me. But again, never used one. So, you know, to each their own on that one. I'm not saying anything bad about either one of those, you know, just it is what it is. So, so another one that people brought up to me is R22 replacements. So currently my company is still using R22. Currently, I prefer not to use R22 replacements. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Just haven't been a fan of the different replacements out there. And the particular customers that I deal with are all okay with me still using R22, because preferably if it's a bad enough repair, they're going to go ahead and replace the unit. And, you know, we give them the options. I mean, I'll do anything that the customer wants to do, but I still stick with, you know, my preference is to stick with R22. If a customer insisted that I use a retrofit replacement, then what I would be doing is making sure that they sign off on that retrofit, and I would explain all the potential problems that we could run into. I would also explain warranty concerns, such as, if you guys don't know, Train Commercial will, you know, the interesting thing is that Train Commercial has a publication that specifies they will not warranty a compressor if an alternative refrigerant is used inside of it, okay, other than the refrigerant that that system was designed for. So basically, if you buy a replacement compressor for an R22 system, now granted, I realize how could they really find out, but you know, they still won't stand behind the replacement refrigerants. On the flip side, the interesting thing is that they will also sell the alternative refrigerants in the Train supply house. So I do find that kind of funny, but you know, my preference is I'm not going to use the replacement refrigerant. So that's one that I get all the time, is people asking me that question. So, and I am going to, I kind of see people talking about it in here too. To each their own, but I don't use leak sealants. Not a fan of using additives, you know, besides the Copeland debacle with AC whatever stuff that you were supposed to use for the Copeland compressors, AC Renew or whatever, or the old RX, or no, it was AC Renew, and what was it called before that? Something or other ice. But yeah, I've used that before, you know, because, you know, the manufacturer wanted you to use it. So I've done that, but I prefer not to use additives. Again, I'm just covering the questions that I get all the time, guys, just to get this over with. I have used dye in the past. I'm not a fan of it. It was an absolute dire circumstance. We chose to use it. The customer signed off on it. It's not something that we use on a regular basis. I still have a dye kit in my truck. I've probably used it 2 times since I've ever gotten it, and I've probably had it for 3 years. So it just sits in there. I'm not a fan of using it. I prefer to use an electronic leak detector. My leak detector of choice, just again, to each their own, is the D-Tech Select. I've always used that leak detector. It's always done really well for me. The only problems I've ever had with it is having to change the filters on the end, and then the sensor like every 2 years or something like that on it. Okay, so that's just my leak detector of choice. So preferably, I'd rather not use a dye or something in the system, because I don't want to get that in my gauges. It gets all over your hands. It gets all over the system. You get the spray back when you go to take the blowback when you take your gauges off, and the dye sprays everywhere. So, but I mean, again, there's a time and place for it. There's an instance where someone can justify using it. So I have used Supco 88 before. I don't know that I really saw any effect from it. You know, what was it? I heard Supco 88, all that it is kerosene, I think, or something like that. So, you know, I don't know. All those different additives kind of scare me. I prefer not to use them unless I have to. So what I would do on a really, really bad burnout, you know, again, if a customer requested something, I would do it. But if I have a really bad burnout, like let's say I have a carrier package unit, you know, a 10-ton carrier package unit with 2 stages, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the compressor. But before I put the new compressor in, we're going to take apart the suction line from the suction header on the evaporator. We're going to pull it out. There's a little spot you can unsweat it. Then I'm going to unsweat the liquid line. I'm going to go ahead and blow through the evaporator, trying to backwash anything out of the evaporator that might be in there, because most of the time it doesn't get plugged up in the evaporator. It pretty much stays in the compressor area and the suction line going to the compressor, in my opinion. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the condenser. I'm going to cut apart the condenser, you know, on the outlet and the inlet, and I'm going to blow through the condenser with some nitrogen. I have used RX11 flush. I really don't see a huge benefit with it. I haven't been using it lately. You know, honestly, I haven't changed a compressor, you know, like a burnout since last summer, but I haven't been using it on the burnouts lately because most of the time I can get the stuff out. So what I'll usually do in a situation like that too, in the burnout, is I'm going to pour the oil out of the compressor. So after I take the compressor out, if I can cut it out, but in all practicality, most of the time you have to unsweat it because cutting it out just isn't practical sometimes. So, pull the compressor out, and then I'm going to tip it over and pour the oil out. You know, if I'm missing, you know, 10 to 15% of the oil, then I'm probably going to go looking for it. If it's less than 10%, I'm not going to really sweat it too much. You know, I'll try to blow through the system as best as possible. Most of the time, I've never really run into an instance where it became a problem. I imagine you could start drilling holes and stuff, but I really don't want to drill holes in the bottom of evaporators. That sounds so sketchy. I've heard people saying to do that. That's why I said that, but I've never done it. So, you know, that's just my personal preference. Again, everybody has a different method, and my way is not the only way. It's not the right way necessarily. It's just the way that I do things, okay? You know, we all do what we have to do to get the jobs done, and we do the best, you know, that we can with what we have. So, I'm just kind of seeing things coming through. Sorry if I'm missing things, but Douglas, you asked what's the best coil cleaner. Again, that's an interesting one. You know, for years and years, I used the new Calgon, the New Bright. That's what I used for years, and you know, up until recently, a lot of people have been talking about the Refrigeration Technologies coil cleaners. And I've been trying them and they've been pretty good. So, you know, this summer I might be using the Refrigeration Technologies cleaners a little bit more. They've been doing really well for me. But the New Bright worked well. It's just, you have to know how to use the New Bright because, you know, it does deteriorate the coil. It is dangerous for things. And it's pretty corrosive. So you got to be cautious about those things. Obviously, guys, let's always make sure we're wearing, you know, safety gear, the proper, what do they call it? PPE or whatever. You know, making sure. I think there was a video on Facebook where a guy was cleaning an evaporator coil, and I mean, whatever, it's his thing, but he was basically 6 inches away using an aerosol spray, spraying the back of the evaporator coil, and the aerosol was getting on his face as he's spraying it, and it's like, oh my goodness, dude, you need to have safety glasses on. Like in a situation like that, you got to use common sense because you get that stuff in your eye. I don't care how biodegradable, eco-friendly it says on the bottle, it's still going to damage your eye. So, you know, be cautious about that stuff, guys. So, no, you really shouldn't be using New Bright on a walk-in evaporator, because New Bright, first off, has a very strong smell and it'll take your breath away. So that can't be good for food. If you're going to clean a walk-in evaporator, I would suggest you use some kind of a, look at Refrigeration Technologies. I'm sure they have something great that you can clean evaporators with. Now, have I used New Bright on an evaporator before? Yeah. You know, there's instances where I've had to, but I'd be very, very cautious about using New Bright or any cleaners that are, you know, have strong odors and stuff on an evaporator of an air conditioning unit, because what you don't know, depending on when you shut that unit off, if the building's under a negative pressure, all those fumes are going to go down to the customers. So be cautious about that. Same thing goes for if you're brazing a leak on an evaporator or something like that. You know, that those fumes and those smells could potentially get sucked down into the building and, you know, cause problems. Whether you're working in a hospital and you've got fire sensors, fire detectors of some sort, you know, you could cause some big problems. Or, you know, even just scaring a customer when they've got a building full of, you know, people that have paid for their food and whatnot in a restaurant, and there's a funny odor and nobody puts two and two together and they evacuate the building. You know, that's not what you want to do. So you want to be cautious about whatever you use, but be very, very careful about using things on evaporators, making sure that you're being cautious. Like the New Bright stuff, that stuff foams, and you got to be cautious because it'll start foaming out of the evaporator on a walk-in cooler or even on an AC. Another thing to think about too when you're cleaning evaporators, especially on an AC unit, is to make sure, you know, like I'm picturing a carrier unit in my head, and I'm going to make sure that I'm going to put something to catch the water, the residual water that does drip off of the evaporator, so it doesn't go down into the return air duct. Same thing goes for any AC, you know. The easiest ones to clean evaporators on are on the side shot units where they're not connected anywhere. And I mean, you still don't want to fill up the unit with coil cleaner, but at least you don't got to worry about it getting down into the ducts. So nothing worse than a customer coming up on the roof as you're doing a PM or something like that, and they've got water dripping on a customer's food. So you got to be cautious about that stuff. So yeah, I would say, yeah, Andrew Hicks said the Viper works on evaps. I would say the Refrigeration Technology stuff, I mean, they have some really cool products, and you know, I get nothing from them. I'm not sponsored by them or anything like that, but I just believe in their stuff. You know, John Passarello, I've communicated with him through emails here and there. He was a nice enough guy to send me a box of ice machine cleaner because I had some questions before I did a podcast with Brian Orr. I think that, or maybe I wrote an article or something. I don't know. I was doing something where I was doing some research on ice machine cleaners, and I reached out to John Pastorello from Refrigeration Technologies, and was just quizzing him on the different chemicals and ice machine cleaners and stuff. And I mean, he was nice enough to send me a box of his Viper ice machine cleaner. And I've been actually using it, and I'm very impressed. I mean, just by him sending me that has kind of sold me on it. It works really well. I've used, quite a few bottles of it, and it works great. So, I've been kind of a fanboy with the refrigeration technology stuff. Obviously the Big Blue and the Nylog, but, enough about them. So, okay, I'm looking at this. Justin, you said your dad is an old school HVAC technician. He struggles with the new technologies coming out, new computer programs. Any advice for him to keep himself relevant? That's an interesting one. So my dad is in HVAC also. We're partners. We run this company together, but he really doesn't work in the field anymore. And if he had to use technology every day like we do, I think he'd go crazy. That's a hard one, bud. I mean, he's going to have to embrace it if he wants to stay in here. That's what he's going to have to do. I mean, he doesn't have to go too crazy technical, but get him a set of Fieldpiece digital gauges and let him learn on those. And then once he, I think the easiest way to show him, to make it make sense to him is, to take that set of Fieldpiece digital gauges and try to get evaporator superheat. Okay. And, mind you, though, I'm thinking of like the S-Man 460s. Okay. That aren't wireless. So, you got to take the digital gauges downstairs and hook it up to the low side and then get your superheat. And then, but how are you going to get your high side pressure? You're going to have to go upstairs. I mean, it's kind of a struggle, right? So, I mean, then you can show him the smart probes and say, look, Dad, you could do it this way, and then he could see how easy it is. Really, it comes down to him wanting to learn is what it's all about. And I mean, I'm not faulting him for not wanting to learn. There's things dude, I'm not joking with you. I had my 12-year-old daughter help me with my cell phone. So I'm stubborn in all kinds of ways too. So, that's funny. I just thought about something right now. Like my nose is itching. It's like a nervous twitch or something like that. It makes me look like a freaking drug addict because every time I come on these live streams, I'm itching my nose. But yeah, so, I've mentioned before that Fieldpiece is coming out with the new digital gauges. I really should put those in the background right here. But when they come out with the new ones, you can use the S-Man manifold with the wireless clamps. And, that's pretty cool too. So, it's just one of those things that he has to want to learn. But I think that if you show him, have him do the work and show him, take him through the steps of getting evaporator superheat on a walk-in cooler or whatnot, or an air conditioning unit, a split system, and then use the wireless stuff and show him how much easier it is to use, then I think it's easier. I think that definitely, with invoicing and different stuff like that, I mean, it's just going to take time for him to get used to it. I think we all struggle with that stuff. I struggled with the electronic invoicing, but we've been on an electronic invoicing system for 5 or 6 years. So, and we've been on the same system. We use, because I know I'm going to get the question right now. We use Intuit Field Service Management, which is basically Corrigo. We've used them for a very, very long time. It has dispatching built in. Again, I really shouldn't be doing this because I'm giving these guys a free commercial. But it has built-in dispatching. It has GPS tracking. It has invoicing. You can get signatures on site. You can do all kinds of stuff with it. So that's the system we've always used. So again, that's Intuit Field Service Management and or Corrigo. You could just look them up. They're both the same. So that's who we've always used. Aeon family, that's a really good question, and I honestly don't know the answer to that. Okay, I would have to be on site to look at that particular mini split. I would have to be on site, but I don't even know. It just depends. I mean, sometimes I don't even know if that system, yeah, I mean, I guess you can pump it down, but be cautious. If it has a microchannel condenser, I'd be very cautious about pumping that system down. Even if the system has 410 in it, I'd be cautious about pumping it down. Because those mini splits are, I don't know. I don't know if they have enough room in that condenser to pump all that refrigerant in there. But yeah, how are you going to pump it down? Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to be in that situation. So I honestly don't know what system you're working on. I have to stare at it and look at the valves and stuff. So, yeah, I've heard of WinTech before. I've heard of people saying that today. Okay, so Joe65, you said you saw in my video I was looking for a spot to put my 6-foot ladder. Could I put it onto or on top of the van between the other two? No, because there's going to be a pipe rack going between the other two ladders. But what I'm probably going to do, I was being silly and really wasn't thinking straight. And someone brought up a really good point in the chat or in the YouTube comments. And so what I'm probably going to do is take the extension ladder and move it over to the other side that doesn't have the drop down. And then go ahead and put the 8-foot ladder and the 6-foot ladder on the drop down thing. That's probably what I'm going to do, because I honestly use I don't use the 8-foot ladder as much, but yeah, anyways, we'll figure it out. I just want to keep it out of the van because I don't want to pull down. And you know what I'll do when I do because I'll do an official van tour when I finish everything. And when I get my old van cleaned out, I'll show you guys what happened from the jet rack and how it pulled down the roof and stuff. So I'll show you guys all that stuff. Kane Ivester, you said you've heard a lot of bad reviews about Fieldpiece S-Mans. Hey, man, you know, some people don't like them. It's all good. I've been a Fieldpiece user forever. I think they're probably one of the best out there, in my opinion. But again, I've never used the Testo stuff, so I really have nothing to compare it to. Okay, but I do know that Fieldpiece has better wireless range than pretty much, well, they don't have better wireless range than the iManifold system, but the iManifold system's kind of going through some hard times right now, and they need to get some stuff fixed before anybody jumps on that. But the iManifold by far has the best wireless range because they use a Zigbee protocol on their wireless probes, and they're repeatable. So you can go, like almost the sky's the limit as to how far you can go on those things as long as you have enough repeaters. You are limited to how many repeaters. I think you can have 12 devices on. I could be completely wrong. It's been a while. I have all the iManifold stuff, but it's literally just sitting in my back or in my van, and I haven't used it in a while. But the Fieldpiece is coming up really well. I think that the moment that they make Bluetooth repeatable, that's when everything's going to change. So, and I'm sure they're working on that somehow or something like that. I'm not smart enough to know how that stuff works. So thanks so much, Ryan. I really appreciate it. He said sweet van setup. That's really cool. Yeah, the Fieldpiece Wireless, it works well, but it also, sometimes it's hit and miss. So, I was working on a system the other day, and I was 8 feet away from a walk-in box. I was on the roof, and I was having problems connecting. But then again, I don't know if I made a video about it. No, I haven't made a video about it yet. I have a video filmed. I just haven't edited it down. But I was working on a shopping mall the other day, and I'm up on a mezzanine behind this particular restaurant, and 60 feet on the other side of a brick wall was my heat pump air handler, or 40 feet or something like that. And I had perfect range, and all my stuff was connecting through a brick wall. So it all has to do with interference and, radio signals and all that fancy stuff. And it can mess things up. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's a problem with Fieldpiece. It's just, sometimes there's interference. So, everything can't be perfect. John, you said the new iManifold graphics suck. Yeah, I can say that honestly, I have been turned off of the iManifold just by the update that they did 6 months ago. I really haven't used it since. It really turned me off. Now, I've also heard some people say it's pretty sweet once they get used to it. I was just a real fan of the old setup, and I was so used to it. And again, maybe I'm just being stubborn and I don't like change, and so I was just kind of turned away. But I think I was already soured, and I know that this is water under the bridge, but I was also soured under all the crap that happened a couple years ago with all the people that got let go from iManifold and stuff. So that just kind of twisted everything up. But it is what it is, and I haven't thrown their stuff away. I have a lot of money, a ridiculous amount of money. It's embarrassing, invested in all the iManifold stuff, and I mean, it's still a great product, and as far as the range goes, it's still the best. I will preface and go back to say that, I have used the iManifold stuff with MeasureQuick, and it works great with MeasureQuick. So I just haven't used the iManifold app, I should say. So, okay. Something is wrong with the like button. Press it to see if it goes up. Oh, I don't know. I would appreciate, though, if you guys haven't already, if you would go to the video and give it a thumbs up. It'll definitely help the stream. I'd much appreciate it. It helps me to, it basically ranks me better in search results and whatnot, and helps my channel grow. So is the way I understand it. But again, that's another thing that I'm not super smart with when it comes to the computer stuff. Figuring out all this computer stuff and fancy audio stuff, I'm kind of not that smart when it comes to this stuff, guys. Thank goodness for YouTube, because YouTube has really helped me to just be able to watch a video and learn how to set up Streamlabs, or, you know, but I still make mistakes on it all. So, hey, I appreciate that, Miguel. Right on. Okay. So guys, let's, make sure if I haven't answered a question or whatever, like, let's throw it down into the bottom of the chat so I don't have to go searching forever for these things. I don't want to get lost too far up in these things. I really appreciate all the guys that are saying sweet van setup. You know, I get the inspiration from Andrew Greaves' van layout Facebook group, you know, and then seeing how AK sets up his stuff. You know, that gave me a lot of inspiration, and all the other guys on that Facebook group or Facebook page or whatever you want to call it, you know. And then there's another one too. It's more or less European, but it's, what is it? Van Racking Group or something like that. It's very interesting because, like, I swear that we're the only country that uses metal shelves in our vans. You know, you look at the European countries, and a lot of those people, they just do all custom wood setups in their van, which actually is really smart because you utilize more space that way, because their shelves literally go up to the back of the van, whereas there's a lot of dead space on ours. That's kind of interesting to think about that, how, you know, most of our stuff is all metal. But I imagine the wood stuff gets pretty heavy when you get some of those guys that have their vans completely set up with all that wood. That's got to get heavy after a while. You know, I think that, you know, the metal can definitely be lighter in some situations. So interesting. Okay. Let me go up into here real quick. Okay. What do we see? Appreciate you guys hitting the like button. Thanks a lot, man. Okay. Okay, Damien, that's a really interesting question. You said Grassland defrost clocks or no. And so I've covered this before, but I'll cover it again. I use Grassland and Paragon defrost clocks. I use a mechanical defrost clock in one situation, and I use the Grassland in the others. Where the Grassland is weak is when it's mounted outdoors and when it's mounted in sandy conditions. That's where the Grassland gets weak. Even if it's in a protective housing, the sand will still get inside of there and it gums it up, or a moisture-rich environment. If you can mount a Grassland downstairs, or if it's not a sandy condition. So I'm in Southern California, so we have some pretty, like, chill climates in certain areas. You know, of course, if we go by the ocean, it's real, you know, everything gets eaten alive. But if we go out to the desert, everything's sandy. But like in the Inland Empire, which is where I live, for the most part, except for like 3 months, you know, 2 months out of the year, it's pretty calm. Yeah, it gets hot, but it's not too windy. It's not too sandy. So, you know, a Grassland clock works fine for the most part. I hear a lot of people saying that they have problems with them. And I will say that there was a time about 10 years ago that Grassland had a bunch of bad clocks, and I stopped using their clocks for about 6 months. They rectified that situation, and I still use Grasslands to this day. But I also use a Paragon on the flip side, the mechanical 814520 for like a walk-in freezer. Yeah, I use those too. It just depends. Like, you know, if I walk up to a system and it has a Paragon on it, I'm probably going to try to put the Paragon back on it. I'm not really going to try to mess things up. Just because I'm probably being lazy and I don't want to go through all the rewiring and reorganizing things. And likewise, if I walk up and it has a Grassland, so long as I don't see a problem with either or, then I'm just going to keep it the way that it is and move on. But I will say I'm not a fan of any of the oddball clocks that are out there. I pretty much only use Grassland or Paragon. Those are the only two that I use. So, okay. What recovery machine would I recommend? That's kind of a hard one for me because I've used the Appion G5 Twin for so many years, it's not even funny. I've rebuilt them. They're super easy to rebuild. But I will say that the Fieldpiece, whatever their vacuum pump, the Mr. 45 or something like that, whatever it's called, looks really appealing. I did get the Fieldpiece vacuum pump, the VP85. I haven't even had a chance to use it yet, but it's a little bit heavier than I thought it was going to be, the VP85 is, but it seems like it's super well built, and the on-the-fly oil change looks awesome. You know, I always was interested in the Appion vacuum pump, but it was just so much money that I never could justify the cost on it, so I never got it. The Fieldpiece is definitely a lot less money than the Appion. I want to say the Fieldpiece was like, I'm so bad with things. I want to say it was like $500. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. I think that's how much it cost, the Fieldpiece one, the VP85. And I want to say that the Appion, isn't it like $800? It's been a long time since I've looked. But Yeah, I ended up doing the Fieldpiece for the vacuum pump. It works great. And I've always used the Appion G5 Twin recovery machine, but I might consider getting the Fieldpiece recovery machine. You know, we'll see. We'll see how, you know, when I need one. The Appion, I mean, if mine broke today, though, I'd probably just rebuild it again because they're super easy to change the valves on them. So I'll probably use it until the motor dies or something, and then we'll go from there. But the pump I have on my van, I've rebuilt it once already, and it was a couple years. And I'll be honest with you, the only reason why I had to rebuild it was because a previous service tech kept turning the valves on it when it was running. He doesn't work for us anymore, but yeah, he would like, he thought it was one of the old school vacuum pumps that you had to like purge. And so he constantly, I kept telling him, stop turning the valves. On the Appions, you just turn it off. And then actually you're supposed to leave the valves open on it too, even in storage. So that's probably the only reason why the valves went bad on it. But I will say what's interesting about the Appion is you know, it's always been touted, and this is the recovery machine, is that it's always been touted that it can recover liquid refrigerant. But when you pull it apart, the valves and the parts inside there, they're all plastic. It's kind of a trip, but it works great. So yeah, Damien, that rigid right angle drill, I've actually had that for many years. Probably 3-4 years I've had that thing. I actually bought it when I was doing some drywall work at my house because it's actually a multi-tool. It's not actually a right angle drill per se. It's just a multi-tool that you can add different tools on. So I used it as a drywall cutter when I was cutting around, you know, receptacles like behind me, the light switch and stuff, because I drywalled my garage and I was cutting around the receptacles, and I bought one of those that rigid thing as a multi-tool. And then I realized that they had an impact head for it, and then they have a drill head for it. So I just bought those because I already had it. I have been, well, I stepped away. I mean, it's still working so far, but I did get my my little 12 volt what do you want to call it? Come on. I'm having a blank here right now. Milwaukee fuel little drill driver for my tool bag. I have been using that. That did replace my DeWalt. The only thing that was wrong with my DeWalt, well, actually, there was a couple of things. The light stopped working on my little DeWalt that I kept in my bag. This is just my little small one. I had an 18-volt DeWalt that I used to keep in my tool bag, and so the light stopped working on it, and the trigger kept sticking, and then all the rubber was like peeling off the drill driver. It was still working. So I ended up picking up the Milwaukee one because everybody's been talking about the Milwaukee stuff, so I figured I'd try it out. And I like it so far. I'm going to definitely consider moving with some more of the 12-volt Milwaukee stuff because I've heard nothing but good stuff about it. So we'll try it out. But there's also, like, for instance, the other day I was doing a condenser coil cleaning, and it was in an awkward place. It was actually the one where I was talking about with the Fieldpiece Wireless probes that had great reception. And this is a condensing unit that's on a mezzanine in a parking structure. So it's on the second floor of a 3-story parking structure. So it never sees sunlight. Okay. It only just sees ambient heat, and it has a lot of dust in there, but there's no grease or anything because there's no exhaust fans in the area. So the condenser needed to be cleaned. And I was really thinking about picking up, but nobody had it in stock, the Milwaukee cordless leaf blower. They have like a cordless leaf blower that works off of their 18-volt system or whatever. And I was going to go pick that up because what I ended up cleaning the condenser with was my leaf blower from my house. I have a plug-in one that I just plugged in, and I just blew the thing out because it's just a bunch of dust, and it blew it right out nice and clean. I did have to split the coil. It was actually another one of my techs that was there doing it. But I mean, we did it with the blower, and it blew it right out. So I was thinking I might pick up one of those Milwaukee blowers for an instance like that. That'd be kind of cool. You know, just use the leaf blower to clean out the condenser and not have to use water or anything. Because this particular situation, you can't really use water because it's on the second floor and it's a corrugated platform that you stand on. So the water just goes down below and gets on patrons that are walking to like a movie theater and whatnot. So you really got to be cautious about using water up there. They even they have people that wash cars in that parking structure, and they have like diapers that soak up all the water. They don't let the water go down the drains or anything. So that's kind of one of the joys of working in shopping malls. They're kind of silly like that. Okay. Okay, so what Ryan Trials said, what are the best advanced learning online resources besides me and Brian Orr on HVAC School? Thank you for putting me in the category with Brian Orr because I would highly suggest you guys check out what Brian Orr's got going on because that dude's a smart dude. You know, I don't even know what to say about putting me in that category, but thanks. Other online resources, HVACR EDU, or It's About Q if you're in Southern California. They are an online resource. Sometimes they have subsidized education. I heard they are getting rid of some of the subsidized education, but it's an online resource. It's ran by a gentleman named Chris Compton, if I remember right. And it's some great stuff. They do all kinds of different trainings. I've taken some classes. That's actually the class that I was talking about. I took one of Dick Wurz, the author of the Refrigeration for Air Conditioning Technicians book. I took a light commercial refrigeration course with Dick Wurz being taught online through It's About Q, which is also the same company as HVACR EDU. So they have a lot of training resources, so check that out. Oh, right on, Lil Mac. Yeah, I'm thinking about getting that leaf blower. So, no, Nasty Nest, that. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your YouTube name right. I have not used Bluon. The app, no, I have not used the app. So, I don't want to talk crap about any one company, but man, there's a lot of money behind the Bluon stuff, and more power to them. But man, you look at their commercials and it's like, it's so produced. There's more money put into that commercial than it seems like a very, very expensive commercial to produce. And I'm not saying that that means they have a bad product. Okay. It just kind of, when I saw that, it's kind of like, I don't know. But some of the science, I don't know. I'm not a smart enough person to analyze the science behind their claims. But, you know, their energy efficiency claims just by using these different things, I don't know, man. I've heard a lot of bad stuff about these retrofit refrigerants, so I'm very skeptical when it comes to any retrofit refrigerant out there, pretty much. So from personal experience and from just, I don't know. But I could be completely proved wrong. If someone from Bluon's watching this, hit me up. Let's talk, you know. But I don't understand it. So, and it just seems kind of sketch to me. But I could be completely wrong, so. Yeah, Damien, I don't know. To be honest with you, Damien, it doesn't matter if someone hits the thumbs up or the thumbs down button. Any interaction, okay, not saying I want you guys to go all hit the thumbs down button, but there's about 5 guys on a regular that thumbs down my videos, and I'm pretty sure it's the same 5 guys because it's so consistent on the numbers constantly. Like every video has these particular 5 or 3 dislikes, so it's got to be the same people. It's probably someone that I pissed off or something, so whatever. It doesn't bother me. It is what it is. Appreciate it there, Jesus. Okay. Yeah, Ron Walker was the original. Actually, well, oh, shoot. What is the guy's name? He's in the back of the RSCS magazines and the Indoor Comfort News. There was the dude that used to make the training videos before YouTube. He was like the first person, and he made training videos. And then you would buy the video series and then watch it on a VHS tape. I'm trying to think of the guy's name. He's still in like the RSCS magazine. He does like a quiz in every RSCS magazine. And then you used to see him at the trade shows. He'd always be sitting there too. He used to sell his videotapes. I'd be kind of curious to know how that works for him anymore, because now you could get stuff on YouTube for free. He probably should have embraced YouTube a lot longer. But oh man, I wish I remembered the dude's name. I don't have a magazine here. Let's see if I can find one while I'm still talking to you guys, because I had a magazine here a minute ago. I'd really like to know this guy's name for context. Yeah, I do have one. What do you know? So, I'll get down to this. Hey, I really appreciate that, Big Joe. Right on. I appreciate you guys taking the time to come in here and check this out. You know, I try to give you guys good feedback. Let's throw some more questions down in the chat while I'm looking through this and see what I can see here. And I'll see if I can't answer something else for you guys here. I try. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, if you guys haven't already, check out your local RSCS chapter. I know there's not as many anymore, but it's rses.org. You can find a chapter local to you. My gosh, you know what? I think I'm wrong. I don't think that dude is in the RSCS magazine. I think he's only in the Indoor Comfort magazine. Yeah, that's my bad, guys. I said he was in the RSCS. Now that I'm looking through this RSCS journal. If you guys don't already, you know, as a member, you don't even have to be a member. Usually you can get a free subscription if you just go online. I think you can get a free year or something like that. But the RSCS journal, it's got lots of great information in it. Industry topics. They show some new cool products and stuff. I'll try to remember that dude's name. He used to make those training videos. I wish I did. I feel kind of bad by mentioning his stuff. So hold on just a second. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. What's the number one problem with reach-in under-counter refrigerators? Hey, thanks a lot, Rick. Miguel, number one problem with reach-in under-counter refrigerators. I think it depends on who you're working for. One of the number one problems I see in my restaurants is water damage. Water damage is like the number one thing. It ruins everything, temperature controllers and whatnot. So the cooks, they're told to clean the floors. They splash buckets on the boxes. It's very prone to like a Delfield reach-in. On a Delfield self-contained, they have the self-contained condenser cover that's louvered, and the way the louvers are, when you throw a bucket at water them, it shoots the water up and sits right on top of the temperature controller, then shorts out the temperature controller. That's like a very common thing on the Delfields. The same thing with the Kyracs. They have the IntelliTrol display from the Trolson unit on the Kyrac. Those things get wet and they short out. I would say that's my number one on a reach-in. And then after that, I'd say temperature controllers. But I think it's going to change depending on the customers you work on. You look at NorCal Dave, he's like the number one thing he shows in his videos is dirty condensers and plugged up cap tubes. So it all depends on the customers and the type of stuff. See, I don't deal with a lot of cap tube stuff anymore. But when I did, like when Kyrac was using the 134A on their little reach-in coolers and stuff like that, we had plugged up cap tubes left and right because people weren't cleaning their condensers. So it just depends on the customers you're used to working on, and that's where you're going to see like trends on what's a common problem and whatnot. So, yeah, cooks don't give a crap. But I mean, really, is it the cook's problem? Dude, the cook's getting paid minimum wage, maybe $1 more to cook. Like, why should he care how he cleans the floor? I mean, in all honesty, the restaurant's kind of being a punk because they could be hiring a janitorial service that they could pay to clean the floor, but instead they're going to like convince their cooks that they're paying minimum wage to clean the floor. So, can you really blame the cooks? Okay. Jim Pettinato, I wish that dude still made videos because even though like his videos weren't necessarily every single thing 100% correct, it's kind of like the stuff I talked about, like learning from my dad, because I learned this trade from my dad, and almost everything that I was taught was wrong, but there was still value in what I was being taught. And I'm not saying Jim Pettinato's wrong. What I'm saying is just he has that old school mentality, and yeah, it may not be 100% like he followed every procedure, but he still gets the job done. He still pulls vacuums. He still does everything right. It's just not necessarily the way that you do it. So I really appreciated Jim Pettinato because his videos were great, and they still are great. You can still see his videos. He just hasn't made new content in a very long time. And I have heard that he still is okay. He just stopped making YouTube videos because of all the buttholes that were out there with comments. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true. I probably shouldn't have even said that because I'm spreading a rumor, but I have heard that there was a lot of problems with their stuff. So, let me see something here. Okay, I'm going to do let's try and see if this works. Let's pop up. Let's see. Where did my thing go? Okay. Did Nightbot? Okay. So Josen Mailey, if you send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com, send me an email to that. I got a prize for you. I got some stuff back here in the back right here that Spoilin had sent me. So I'll do a couple more of these here real quick. Let's do it again. And it looks like Rick is the next person here. Rick, if you send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com, I got a prize for you here in the back. I'll let you guys pick. Well, just send me an email and we'll talk about what it is. We'll do two more. Matt Zerzola, send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. I'm going to put it in here again. I got a couple things, like I said, that Spoilin had sent me. Yeah, no, I'm not going to give away my dial-a-charge. I've just got some shirts and hats and stuff. So, but yeah, I'll hook you guys up with that stuff. And I'll do one more here real quick. Mauricio Banuelos III. Same thing. Send me an email to hvacrvideos@gmail.com. Yes. So that's all I got for, I mean, that's it for the giveaways for now, guys. I know I didn't announce the giveaways. I just knew I was going to give these away. I just wanted to give it to the people so that way we didn't get an inrush of people that really weren't going to be part of this chat and stuff. So you guys, the people that I've told, send me an email, hvacrvideos@gmail.com, and I got some swag back here. It's just swag that Sporland sent me. I have a couple shirts and a couple hats. So, we'll send it to you guys. Yeah, Damien, I try to go back in with OEM as much as possible. Yep, you, Rick. You. Send me an email. Remind me, because I'll forget. I got some stuff for you. I actually have the perfect thing for you, Rick. So I have the perfect thing that'll work. I think you'll appreciate it. So I probably would have just given it to you anyways. But yeah, send me an email. So yes, I try to go back with OEM replacement motors as much as possible. You know, it's just one of those things, if at all possible. But I do use aftermarkets. I keep, US motors, like an 1862 and I think an 1861 or something. I keep a 3.25 horsepower condenser fan motor, like the 1075 AC condenser fan motors on my truck. But I mean, when we're talking like a walk-in evaporator fan motor, nah, I'm not necessarily going to go back with an OEM. I'm still going to put a PSC back in or something like that. But, you know, I try to use OEM parts as much as possible. So, yeah, 716 Appliance Guy, RSCS subscription. That sounds about right. They have a student membership. And then if you become an RSCS member, you know, you get the magazine for free. A lot of times, don't quote me on this, but a lot of times they have free magazine giveaways. So, you know, you could do all kinds of stuff. Okay, wait. I see Justin. Justin, can you walk me through the high temp walk-in freezer call? Yeah, I can, Justin. A high temp walk-in freezer call. Yeah, Justin, just message me, dude. Let's talk. We could talk about it because I could go in a million different directions and I don't want to bore everybody in here. So let's talk about it. And then if our conversation goes well, then I could talk about it later or something like that. You got my information, Justin. So just get a hold of me. Let me keep going down into here. Yeah, well, Damien, it depends on what you're working on, dude, because if I'm working on train equipment, I pretty much always put OEM motors back into like train commercial package units and stuff. I don't mess around because, yeah, they're expensive as all get out, but I just prefer to go back in with the OEMs. Same thing with the Linux, too, especially on the Linux package units, like their commercial ones, because they have those cool little plugs on the side of the motors and whatnot. I prefer to put those back on if I can. So, 1100 seems a little steep, but you might want to do your research. I mean, sometimes you can find a motor shop, like not your normal United Refrigeration, but like for us, I know you guys aren't going to have this out there, but we have an electric motor shop that does rewinding and different things, and like they'll rebuild blower assemblies. So let's say I have a carrier package unit that has bad bearings on a blower assembly. I just pull the whole blower assembly out and take the whole thing to them. And those dudes cut everything off, put a new shaft, new bearings, new wheel, they paint it, and then I just take the whole blower assembly back. So in a situation like that, they have great knowledge on motors. So if you really are going to, put a retrofit motor in there, go talk to a motor shop. Not just a guy at the supply house that says, at like a Johnstone's or a United that says, oh yeah, this motor should work. Nah, I'm not into that. Unless you know exactly what you're doing, make sure you're paying attention to the amperage and different things. Horsepowers don't necessarily cross over. You got to look at the amp draws on the motor and that kind of stuff. So, keep going on to here. Yeah. I guess you guys are watching HVAC videos. I'm working. On top of that, I'm not even doing HVAC stuff. I will say, so NorCal Dave did a video today on one of those Emerson. Oh, thanks so much, Douglas. I really appreciate it, man. So that's really cool of you to do a super chat, dude. That's super cool. So NorCal Dave did a video today on converting one of those Emerson low pressure controls on a condensing unit. If you guys haven't already, subscribe to NorCal HVAC. Sorry if I don't know his channel name. Maybe someone can someone link NorCal's channel in here. I'll be distracted trying to do that. But NorCal Dave, if you guys aren't a subscriber, go subscribe to his channel. That dude was original. I watched his YouTube videos forever. So anyways, he did a video on one of those Emerson smart controller things for the condensing units. It's the low pressure control. I actually have one of those sitting in my garage that's brand new that I've never used. And it was on a condensing unit that I actually cut it out of the condensing unit because it was going to be located in a refrigeration rack with a swamp cooler. And I was worried about it shorting out. And his video kind of made me think like maybe I'll set that up where we can go through the features on it, and I might do a video on that or something like that. Maybe set up a trainer board behind me like I did with the duct detectors. So I'll get another piece of plywood board and like set up a trainer or whatever, and we can play with that controller. Because those Dixel controllers, all that is a Dixel controller, okay? But it's just been, you know, set up to run low pressure and use, you know, all those fancy things. But those Dixel controllers, you can launch the space shuttle from them. You can do all kinds of stuff if you get into the advanced programming on those Dixel controllers. And, you know, so any one of those controllers that's made by Emerson now, Emerson owns Dixel, but, you know, they all can be like reprogrammed and they can do all kinds of cool stuff. So maybe we'll do that for a video, set that up. Let me see if I'm missing anything else. Yeah, I like the Linux package units, especially the big commercial ones. For, you know, I will say that I really appreciated the LGA series condensed units more so, but yeah, I do like the Linux stuff. So, make sure, guys, if I said your name, you guys send me an email, because I think let me see how many emails I have right now. There was only 4 of you guys that I did, and make sure that if I said your guys' names, let's see, Rick, Mauricio, let's see, who else? Rick and Mauricio are the only people that emailed me. So those other 2 guys that I mentioned, go back up in the chat and see your names, and make sure you guys email me about the giveaway so I can send you this stuff. So at least that's who I got the emails from so far, but I'm sure I'll get more as time goes on. But yeah, just make sure you guys send me those emails, okay? If you guys ever have questions too, I can't stress enough, just send me an email. And, you know, the questions, and it doesn't have to be in this chat. I mean, you could throw the emails in there. Okay, yeah, they are so easy to do PMs on. Yeah, I really appreciate that, Jesus. You guys hit the like button. I really appreciate it. Okay. Okay. What else? Right, guys. Well, you guys got any more questions? Throw them in the chat. If not, we're gonna close this thing out. I usually try to keep these about an hour, hour and a half. Sometimes hour and a half seems a little too long for me, especially when I know that it's time for dinner in the other room. So throw some more questions in here. If you guys don't have more questions, we're probably going to wrap this up. Forgive me, guys. Northwest knows he won. That's Rick. Rick and I know each other, so he already emailed me. So, advice for the Friday service calls. So you mean the ones that piss you off because it's 4 o'clock at Friday night, and they tell you that the walk-in freezer's down, and then they share too much information, and they say that it's been down since 10 o'clock in the morning, but they thought it was in defrost, and then they decided to wait until 4 o'clock to call you? Is that the Friday night service calls you want me to talk to you about? Because I'm not bitter about those. No. You know, I made a video, maybe I should make another one a long time ago, about you can't let this stuff get to you. Okay, guys, these people, if they don't call you, they're going to call someone different. Yes, it's stressful. Yes, we have things to do, but getting angry about it is just going to hurt you. The stress that builds up in your body when you get angry is horrible on your body. So yeah, no worries, Rick. Okay. No, the Prodigies, I like the Prodigies. I prefer the black controller on the Prodigy. It's just a little bit easier to use. If you haven't already, try hooking your computer up to one of the Prodigies. Even on the LGA series, the L series units, you can hook your computer up, but on the older L series, you needed a special adapter. But on the Prodigies, it's just USB. You can hook your computer up to those things and rock them out, and do all kinds of stuff with that. When can you expect me to have coffee mugs? You know, okay, so here's the thing. I have like all kinds of ideas that I want to do with this stuff. I want to work with brands. I want to, you know, do all this stuff. And it's just so difficult to figure all that stuff out. Like, I want to have a shirt. Like, sure, I'd like to make a shirt, or like Brian made, I want to have hats, you know, I want to have coffee mugs, whatever. It's just so hard for me to figure out how to do it. It's so silly. And on top of that, I'm kind of a perfectionist. So I can't just go to one of these like cheesy shirt companies and have them make me a crappy shirt, because that's going to bug me so bad when the shirt only lasts 3 months. That's going to drive me nuts. So that's why I haven't done any of that stuff yet. It's just because I haven't. At the same time, I'm supposed to be launching a podcast. It was supposed to be launched by now. You know, the silly thing is that I've already paid for the podcast hosting. I've got the website for the podcast. I've got all this different stuff. I just haven't done it yet. So it's just a matter of me getting the time to do it and actually doing it. I'll get to this stuff one of these days, guys. I'm just, I'm trying to find a happy balance between family and videos. As it stands right now, I spend, and I'm not bitching, I mean, it is what it is, but I spend 2 to 3 hours a night editing videos, and then 4 to 6 hours on Saturdays and Sundays editing videos and doing, you know, answering emails and whatnot and different things. And I'm cool with it. I mean, I really do enjoy interacting with you guys and stuff. It's just hard to keep up with everything and try to do new stuff on top of that when I'm just I try to respond to all your guys' emails if I can, you know, and YouTube comments and different things. And the YouTube comments I can't get to, I try to address in these live streams. So I'm trying. I'll get to it. I appreciate you guys being cool with everything. Yeah, I do use the Gorilla Grip, Kevin. I use the really thin rubber ones from Home Depot as my like working normal gloves. And then I use the Black Mamba gloves for the rubber gloves. They're nitrile black gloves. I get them from TruTech Tools. Again, free commercial. But yeah, I buy the black nitrile Black Mamba gloves from TruTech. Those are what I use for like working in reach-ins and stuff. So, okay, what else? Yeah, send me something, Justin. I'm cool with that. Okay, Zoom Lock. I've never used it. Honestly, don't have a place to use it. I mean, even if I had a Zoom Lock tool in my hand that I didn't pay for, I really don't have anywhere to use it because I'm doing refrigeration. And the interesting thing about the Zoom Lock is I think it's a high quality tool and I think it has a great place. I mean, especially when you're doing like VRFs and stuff like that. But my understanding, and I could be completely wrong about Zoom Lock, but my understanding is it doesn't work well on soft copper. It works best on rigid copper. And I work with so much soft copper, and most of the stuff that I'm working with is dirty. And my understanding is that Zoom Lock works best on a brand new piece of copper that's not pitted out, that's not, you know, all deteriorated. And unfortunately, I'm doing more service work. So, you know, I come up to a system that we can't afford to change everything, and we have to change an expansion valve, and the suction line is all pitted out on it, or the liquid line or whatever. And, you know, then you just got to fill, you just put a bunch of braze material, filler, you know, all over everything to kind of just eliminate any leaks. And unfortunately, in a situation like that, Zoom Lock wouldn't be very effective for me. But I will tell you, it would be very interesting if they came out with like a smaller Zoom Lock that we could use on the R290 systems. That I could see a use for. So then we don't have to braze on a fitting while the system has R290 in it. Sounds kind of cool, but it's also kind of scary to think of a mechanical fitting on a flammable refrigerant. So, you know, I guess I see all kinds of side, but I got nothing bad to say about Zoom Lock. I just don't have a place to use it. So, I appreciate you guys watching this. Okay. I'm just answering someone's comment there, guys. Steve Lav, yeah, he's got good content too. You know, and again, Steve Lav's a different kind of a guy. He makes a different kind of videos, but I mean, he does something. You see how many subscribers he has, and he obviously has a following. Yeah, he's kind of funny or silly, you know, when he comments about different things, but the dude's knowledgeable. You ever seen his car collection? That blew me away when I saw his car collection. Like, I think I might have saw it on Facebook or something. It's like, holy moly, I never expected that dude to have a car collection like that. So, yeah, I'll do it, Total Tech. You know, I really will. It's just one of those things. I just need to get it done. Damien. I'm seeing what else I'm missing here, guys. Okay. Nylog? Nylog is like the God's gift to man. I use Nylog. So I started using Nylog because solely because of Jim Bergman talking about the Appion Megaflow kit before he was, you know, affiliated with anybody. The same reason why I bought Appion products too is because Jim Bergman, I think, was showing their hoses or something like that with vacuum pumps. And he used the Nylog sealant. And I'd always seen it in the supply houses, but I never really, you know, the supply houses didn't do a good job of selling me on it. But it was one of Jim Bergman's videos that I realized what it could do and use it as a lubricant, you know. And then once I used it a couple times, we called it snot. And once it spilled in your bag a couple times, you learn to kind of put it in the right place. But then you realize like how important, and I did more research and found, you know, I don't use any lubricants besides nylog now. You know, if I'm doing flare fittings, it's nylog. If I'm lubing the top of the flare nut where it rubs on the copper, it's nylog. If I'm lubing an expansion valve before I, you know, one of the Sporlan BQ valves that you're building, put nylog on the O-rings. Justin, really appreciate it, bud. I'll look into that. Who makes that heated hoodie, Justin? Is it a Milwaukee one? Because I've been thinking about a heated hoodie, dude. I'll have to check that out. I'll definitely have to check that out. I'm curious if it's the Milwaukee or if it's the you tell me, dude. Okay. Yeah, so yeah, nylog is great. Love it. It's interesting that Mitsubishi won't let you use nylog because a lot of people are going to nylog and approving it. Even Sporlan has approved nylog to use on their zoom lock fittings. So, do I use a pipe expander for swaging? No, I have the spin swage for my drill bit, and I just put them in my drill bit. But I'm not doing any big stuff per se. Oh, no. I mean, I've swaged 7/8 before with the spin swage. I just put it in my big boy drill. And, yeah, the key to the spin swage is you know, obviously the heat. And then, you know, how fast your drill's spinning. You are going to have a tough time with the spin swage on like a DeWalt drill because I think they want 2,000 RPMs and most of the DeWalt drills are only at 1,800. So, and I know that they, you know, one of the spin swage, Rector Seal came out with the one that goes in the impact. Trust me, you don't want to use it in an impact. It's a nightmare because it just, it shakes and it screws up the pipe. Unless I'm doing something completely wrong, I don't use it in the impact. So, but yeah, I use the spin swage or the Rector Seal one, whoever makes it or whatever the name that's called. Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested. I'll look at that jacket. I don't know if they sell it out here, but I can definitely order it online. I've been thinking about one of those heated hoodies. So, because man, it gets cold in the walk-in freezers, John. I'm a baby. Yeah. So I'm gonna enlighten you on my weather right now. It is so flipping cold, and I know I don't know what cold is, guys. But so right now we are losing our stuff because it's 47 degrees outside. We don't know what to do here, and our low is 35 tonight. And we're going to lose our minds. And we have, you know, we don't know what cold is here in California, guys. So we're a bunch of babies. I need heated everything. And now I don't got no hair, so I got to have a beanie on. I lose my mind because I'm so cold. So, all right. All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and end this, guys. So I really appreciate you guys coming in here. It was really cool. Yeah, I can't imagine that, Bill. I just can't do it. It's just too darn cold for me. So, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and end this. I will see you guys next time. Throw me some emails, guys. Lots of questions. I really, really appreciate it. Yeah. No, 47 degrees for us is just losing our minds outside in a Speedo. That's funny. Yeah, so really appreciate it, guys. Yeah, it is dinner time. I will catch you guys on the next one. Okay? All right.